Do you enjoy the thrill of finding a deal? Are you looking to add some dividend kings to your portfolio? Would you also like to know which of these kings could possibly be undervalued? Then make sure you check out today's video. Hey, before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind clicking the thumbs up button in the bottom of the video, turn it blue. I really appreciate it. It really helps my channel. So I know there are a lot of people that really enjoy the thrill of finding a deal. And even more so when you can find that deal in a quality dividend stock that'll pay you well into the future. In today's video, we're gonna look sector by sector through the Dividend Kings list to see if there are any undervalued stocks per the market and sector forward PE ratio. Now let's get to the content. All right, so the first sector we're gonna look at is basic materials. The S&P 500 has a forward PE ratio of 18.22, while the basic materials sector has a forward PE ratio of 13.86. There are only 3 stocks on the Dividend Kings list that fall into this sector, and they are Stepan Company, stock ticker SCL, with a forward PE ratio of 13.51. HB Fuller Company, stock ticker FUL, with a forward PE ratio of 14.1, and PPG Industries, stock ticker PPG, with a forward PE of 14.89. So while all of these are under the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, only one of them, Stepan Company, is under the sector forward PE ratio. So the next sector is consumer cyclical. Again, we have the 18.22 forward PE for the S&P, and consumer cyclical has a 14.23 forward PE ratio. Again, there are 3 stocks on the Dividend Kings list that are in this sector, and they are Leggett & Platt, stock ticker LEG, with an 11.54 forward PE. Lowe's, stock ticker LOW, with a 13.54 forward PE. And Genuine Parts, stock ticker GPC, with a 15.43 forward PE. So all 3 of these companies are under that S&P forward PE ratio, but only 2 of them, being Leggett & Platt and Lowe's, are under the sector forward PE ratio. All right, next we get into consumer defensive, which is the largest sector on the Dividend Kings list. Again, 18.22 forward PE for the S&P 500, while consumer defensive has a forward PE of 22.08. All right, and the first stock is Altria Group, stock ticker MO, with a 10.24 forward PE. Then Target Corporation, stock ticker TGT, with a 13.22 forward PE. Then Kimberly-Clark, stock ticker KMB, with a 17.84 forward PE. Then Cisco, stock ticker SYY, with a 19.88 forward PE. Then you get into Colgate-Palmolive, stock ticker CL, with a 21.28 forward PE. Next is PepsiCo, stock ticker PEP, with a 23.43 forward PE. Then we're jumping right into Coca-Cola, stock ticker KO, with a 23.82 forward PE. Then we'll jump right into Procter Gamble, stock ticker PG, with a 24.21 forward PE ratio. Then you'll have Hormel Foods, stock ticker HRL, with a 24.95 forward PE. Then it's Lancaster Colony, stock ticker LANC, with a 26.16 forward PE. Then for these last 2, they didn't have a forward PE ratio, but I just wanted to give you guys something here, so I wanted to provide you with at least the current PE ratio. But just note that these aren't apples to apples anymore, since these are current versus the other company's forward PE ratios. So you have Universal, stock ticker UVV, with a 14.66 current PE ratio, and Tootsie Roll, stock ticker TR, with a 38.56 current PE ratio. So only 3 of these companies are actually under the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, but 5 of them are actually under their own sector forward PE ratio. All right, the next sector we're gonna jump into is energy, and this one's real short because there's only 1 stock on this list from the Dividend Kings. Again, we have that 18.22 forward PE from the S&P 500, while the energy sector itself as a whole has a 9.82 forward PE ratio. The only stock on this Dividend Kings list is National Fuel and Gas, stock ticker NFG, and its forward PE ratio is 12.22. So as you can tell, this is under that S&P 500 forward PE ratio, but it's actually over its own sector forward PE ratio, which means there might be other options as far as value is concerned outside of the Dividend Kings list that might get you more bang for your buck. All right, next sector is going to be financial services. Again, we have the 18.22 forward PE for the S&P, while the financial services sector has a 13.7 forward PE ratio. There are actually 3 stocks from the Dividend Kings list that are in this sector, and they are Farmers and Merchants Bancorp, stock ticker FMAO, with a forward PE ratio of 14.47. The next one's Commerce Bank Shares, stock ticker CBSH, and they have a forward PE ratio of 18.33. And last but not least, you have Cincinnati Financial, stock ticker CNF, with a forward PE ratio of 24.26. So we only have one of these financial services stocks from the Dividend Kings list that are under the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, while actually none of them are under the sector forward PE ratio. So again, this might be another one where there are stocks outside the Dividend Kings list that are a better value as of now. All right, so the next sector is going to be healthcare. And in healthcare, again, the S&P 500 is at 18.22 forward PE, while the healthcare sector itself is at a 15.98 forward PE ratio. So there are 4 stocks on the Dividend Kings list that are in the healthcare sector. And the first one is AbbVie, stock ticker ABBV, with a 13.31 forward PE. Johnson & Johnson, stock ticker JNJ, with a 16.13 forward PE. Then you'll find Becton Dickinson Company, stock ticker BDX, with a 18.82 forward PE. And rounding out the list is Abbot Labs, stock ticker ABT, with a forward PE of 23.07. So we'll have 2 stocks under the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, and only 1 stock being AbbVie under the sector PE ratio. So taking a look at the next biggest sector within the Dividend Kings list, we're at industrials. So again, we have the 18.22 forward PE of the S&P 500. The industrial sector actually has a 15.98 forward PE ratio, so slightly under the S&P. The first stock on the list is Stanley Black & Decker, stock ticker SWK, with a 10.51 forward PE. Then we get into ABM Industries, stock ticker ABM, with a forward PE ratio of 11.86. Then it's 3M, stock ticker MMM, with a 13.49 forward PE. Then it's Parker-Hannifin, stock ticker PH, with a 14.19 forward PE. Then it will be Dover Corp, stock ticker DOV, with a 16.75 forward PE. Then you'll have a popular name with Emerson Electric, stock ticker EMR, with a 18 forward PE ratio. Then it's another popular name with WW Granger, stock ticker GWW, and they have a 18.84 forward PE. And rounding out the list, you have Nordson, stock ticker NDSN, with a 23.33 forward PE ratio. So you'll actually have 6 of the 8 industrial stocks under the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, and 4 of those are under the sector PE ratio. So it looks like there's some value in the industrial sector on the Dividend Kings list. All right, so diving into the real estate sector. So again, we have the 18.22 forward PE in the S&P 500, and the real estate sector has a 32.82 forward PE. So there's only 1 stock on the Dividend Kings list in the real estate sector, and that stock is Federal Realty Investment Trust, stock ticker FRT, and they actually have a 51.06 forward PE ratio. So even though the real estate sector forward PE is significantly higher than the S&P 500 forward PE, the forward PE of FRT is actually higher than both of those. So again, this might be another one of those sectors where you'll have to look outside the Dividend Kings list to find a value investment. All right, so the last sector we're going to look at is the utility sector. Again, we have the 18.22 forward PE of the S&P 500, while the utility sector actually has a 3.15 forward PE ratio. So we have 5 stocks on the Dividend Kings list from this sector. So we're going to dive right into the first one. And that first company is Black Hills, stock ticker BKH. And they have a 18.28 forward PE. Next will be Northwest Natural Holdings, stock ticker NWN, and they have a 18.77 forward PE. Then it'll be SJW, stock ticker SJW, with a 27.43 forward PE. Second to last will be California Water Service, stock ticker CWT, and they have a 29.85 forward PE. And last but not least is American States Water, stock ticker AWR, and they have a forward PE ratio of 33.46. So not only are all 5 of these stocks over the S&P 500's forward PE ratio, but they are significantly over the utility sector forward PE ratio. Again, this might be another sector where looking outside the Dividend Kings list might be the way to go. So we do have 2 sectors that are not covered on the Dividend Kings list. So I just wanted to quickly provide you guys with their sector PE ratio. So when you guys are looking obviously outside of the Dividend Kings list, you guys can use that as kind of a benchmark of what the forward PE ratio of those sectors are. So the first one is communication services, and they have a forward PE ratio of 17.92. And the second one is technology with a forward PE ratio of 22.98. And with that being said, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Be sure, again, to click the like button. It is free and it helps out my channel a lot if you enjoyed the content or learn something here today. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel and click the bell. It'll let you know when I premiere a new video, which, like I said, I'm really trying to stick to a Monday and Friday, every Monday, every Friday schedule. So it'll let you know that I've posted a video. And once you've done so, comment down below and I'll personally thank you and take a screenshot of it and you'll be in the next video. Also comment down below and let me know what you thought of today's video and give me your favorite stock from each sector. I think that'll be a fun little activity if we can get some participation in the comments. I'd like to know what your favorite stock in each of the 11 sectors is, as well as if you have any suggestions for future videos. But until next time, see ya.